Hello. Oh, hello. It's so good to see you guys. Hello. Hello. Got another one coming in hot on a Friday morning. Hello. Welcome. Oh, you guys, this is going to be so good. So good. I've been counting down the minutes, waiting for 11 o'clock my time. You got no idea. Oh my gosh, I have such a fun story to tell you this morning that is really such tangible example of what it means to reclaim our power. And that is what this day is all about. I feel like at some point I could do like a whole 4 week mini program just on reclaiming our power. Like as I thought about, what am I going to put into this hour? I I can't fit it all of the beautiful reclaiming our power tips and tricks and the places where it gets scattered. Oh my gosh, like when we even start thinking about like reclaim it from where? Where isn't it is really the question. Like it's in a lot of places, okay? But we're going to talk about some of those, but first we're going to dance it out. We're going to shake our body. We're going to raise our vibration. We got a few minutes of a song that I only just recently became familiar with, so it's like my brand new favorite. Oh, you guys heard it. That's Whitney and Kygo. I think is how you say the other artist on that song. It's got like 65 million views on YouTube, so I think I'm a little late to the party on finding that song, but holy moly. Oh, in just a few minutes, like how good do we feel? Right. Like I'm even a little bit out of breath. I really had to scoot my chair back so I could like kick my legs a little bit because they needed kicked. Okay. Um, yeah. Reclaiming our power. Like, first of all, the choice to do so, the choice to let go of whatever is hanging off of us that's weighing us down, the heaviness, like what we were becoming aware of last time and choosing to elevate, right? Like reclaiming our power is a choice that we can make. There are avenues available to us that we can access, like music, like community, like turning on an Abraham Hicks video. I sent you guys one of those a few days ago that like really helped me out this past weekend. I needed some of that to lift my vibe on purpose. So when we will choose it, we 100% have the power to do that. And so, first of all, reclaiming our power, it's a choice. And by even just being here, take a moment and thank yourself for making that choice for you, right? Feel the power of you choosing to pour into yourself, of you choosing to make this investment into yourself because you deserve it and you have the power to make it so. So just really soak that up first and foremost. And the second thing, like I said, reclaim it from where? Where is it? Where did it go? That's a conversation where I feel like we could talk for a really long time exploring this idea of, is your power ever really gone? Number one. And I'm going to throw it out there and say, not really. Okay. Like you always have all your power, and there are lots, I mean, more than we could possibly cover in an hour or even 6 hours. So many illusions that our power gets trapped inside the illusion. And so reclaiming our power is essentially like popping those illusions, busting them open, refusing to let them exist in our life. And how do you do that? You choose. You choose. What is it that you want to believe? Because what we believe is what creates our reality. If we believe we are disempowered, then we are. And if we believe that we are always holding our power, then we are. If we believe we can, we're right. If we believe we can't, we're right. So what you choose to believe is everything. And that's where I really want to tell you guys the story of what happened to me this morning. Oh my God. It's 100% like where this high vibe that I'm feeling is coming from, because it is so much this popping the illusion of like, who is holding the power in your life? And me coming into this place of like preparing for today's session and reclaiming my own power to get myself as high as I possibly can be to call all of us up there. And this morning I had this moment of like really declaring what I wanted. And for the purpose of this example, I'm going to be totally transparent with you about what exactly happened. What I want is to pay off my credit card debt. So I have several $1,000s sitting on this credit card, and it's been there for a few years now of like not able to pay this off. And meanwhile, the interest is just piling on there. And like the minimum payments that I am making are basically paying the interest, and the balance just sits there. And so I have felt trapped and stuck and like weighed down underneath this debt. And so, like we did last week, like becoming aware of the heaviness that you're carrying and making it a choice. Like I've been choosing to carry this heaviness. I've been choosing to own this debt, and I don't want to choose it anymore. So making that declaration of what I want is to pay off this credit card as fast as possible. And so I type into Google. It's like my go-to on everything. You just Google it. How do you pay off credit card debt? And then it fills it in for me with no money. And I'm like, yeah, like that. How do you pay it off with no money? And the first thing that comes up is balance transfer credit cards. Okay, so like basically you get like a free 6 months of no interest to like move the balance over here. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did that a couple times back in college. I know about that. So then I'm like, you know what would be even easier though than having to open a new credit card and move my balance over here? It'd be so much easier if Discover where my balance is would just lower my interest rate, would just let me out from under my huge interest rate, stop charging me all this interest and let me pay this off. And the first thought that came, they're not going to do that. Why would they do that? And I instantly was like, brain, you be quiet because you don't know. You haven't asked them. You don't know what they're willing to do until you call them up and get them on the phone and ask them what they're willing to do. And so you better believe I find their phone number, I call them on the phone. Less than 15 minutes later, they have more than cut my interest in half. So like on a monthly basis, they will now be charging me about a third of the amount of interest that they were charging me before. And this is the part I didn't even think to ask for. They're like, well, do you want a $40 credit off the balance of what you owe? And I'm like, yeah, I do. So not only did they lower the amount of interest that I'm now having to pay each month, so more of my money is going to actually go to paying down the balance, but they also took $40 off the top of the balance owed. And so I feel like this story illustrates this reclaiming of our power very tangibly as far as like, what is it that you're willing to ask for? What is it that you're willing to believe? Because if I had believed my brain in that first like knee-jerk response thought of like, they're not going to do that. Why would they do that? And then when I get on the phone with the first lady, she's like, she tells me that, well, I could get you over to a rate specialist. And but that, and like you could just tell she's about to tell me that like it's not going to work out for me. Like that it's not like that. You can't get that lowered. And so instantly in my thought, like again, it's like, what are you choosing to believe? Are you choosing to believe that like they can't do what you're asking? And like I'm going to believe her and like her pessimism, or am I going to believe that I'm the exception? And I called them today because they're going to figure this out for me. So like if I'll hold on to my hope and my optimism and my belief that like I'm asking, they're going to respond to what I'm asking. And so she's like, tells me that the rate specialist, they can really only lower your rate for your future purchases. not your current balance. And then she's like, but it sounds like you want your rate lowered for your current balance. So let me get you over to this other department. And I'm like, okay, see, now that's what we're talking about. Like, yeah, send me to the other department. So again, what are you willing to believe? Because if I had believed the very first thought, I never would have even picked up the phone, right? Like I never would have even looked up their phone number because why would they do that? And I was able to be like, no, I mean, I'm at least going to ask them. And then you better believe I felt like a lot of very conflicting emotions when I get the first lady on the phone and I'm like, I want to know, how do we lower my interest rate? I felt audacious asking this question of like, I want you to give me something that you're not already giving me. You're a business, you're charging me what the business charges me. I want you to charge me less. And it was like brought up all these stories of like, who am I? Who am I to ask for this? Who am I to expect this from them? And are you willing? Are you willing to exercise your power? And so the very first question that I want to ask is like, you know, when we believe that we are the creator of our reality and we can have anything we want, that's not if we can have anything we want. You can have anything you want. But if you are unwilling to go for it and ask for it and to open up and be like, universe, bring this to me, then you're not really believing that it's possible. So reclaiming our power begins in like, what limitation are you ready to go beyond? What do you need or want in your life that you've not yet asked for? That at this point you could ask for. You could pick up the phone. You could send a text message. You could walk into this business and ask a question. Is this possible? How do we do this? So like, I'm going to be quiet for just a moment and really sit with that of like, what comes to mind of what could you ask for? Like even today, in less than 60 seconds. I mean, it literally, I was on the phone with Discover for 12 minutes to save $170 for this month alone, let alone that's a 12-month reduction to my interest rate. So that's going to be 12 months of like my money actually paying down my balance. And I'm high on this for real. So what could you ask for? What are you willing to open up to the possibility that if you ask, they'll say yes? What is that for you? And as the ideas come, are there any, what are those thoughts that are the knee-jerk response of like, why would they do that? Who do you think you are? You know, that's all that we're up against is our own disbelief that we are in fact that powerful, that we do get to make requests in this world and have anything that we want. Because what's the worst that they're going to do? Say no? And then where are you? The same place you are right now. If we believe we can, we can. And if we believe we can't, we can't. What's coming to mind that you could ask for? And maybe there's a specific place or person that you need to ask, or maybe you're just going to ask the universe. I would love to see in the chat. What could you ask for? You can have anything you want. Literally anything. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? And while you're typing that, like this was the request I made to the universe a few days ago was Um, long story short, I need to get my cat neutered, and the Humane Society offers like a really cheap coupon for you to buy like a $33 coupon and get the cat neutered for super cheap. But the vet that I want to go to, the vet that I feel the good vibes with, that I feel like is very loving towards the animals versus just like a business, they don't accept that coupon. So for the loving vet to do it, it's $110, or you can take it to the business vet and use your $33 coupon. And so the request I made to the universe on Tuesday when I found all this out was, if you can bring me $100, I'll take Bob to the loving vet. That I want him to be cared for by the vet that I trust will treat him with love, like her own animal. And I'll gladly pay the extra money if you can like bring me that little bit of income. And so while this is not exactly income, it's a savings, it's not like money flowing in necessarily, but like that was the first thing that I thought of when all of this worked itself out, was like, holy crap, like the universe is like listening to me. And so making our request to the universe is not necessarily shouting into the void. Again, it's like, yes, a penny saved is a penny earned. Like that money is going that much farther now. And how it got brought about, I never could have asked for that, right? But what I knew that I wanted was, I want my cat to be neutered by a vet that I trust. So please bring me the financial situation that's going to let me have that. And same with being willing to call up Discover and ask them, like, lower my interest rate, please. It feels about the same to open your mouth to the universe and be like, hey, can you bring me some extra money so that I can have the vet that I want and not the vet that I can really afford? So like being willing to ask for what you want, I feel like is the quickest way to the front of the line, so to speak, as far as how to actively work through reclaiming your power. What do you want? Getting clear on what that is, and being willing to ask for it. When we're powerful, when we, believe that we are, there's nothing we can't have. And so the thing about like the skipping to the front of the line part is like, when we feel like we can't ask, that's a pretty good indication of like, what is the illusion that's standing in the way, right? What illusion is holding our power so that we don't believe that we have it? And in that like knee-jerk response thought that I had about Discover, like, why would they do that? That was me assuming that the Discover card company is holding the power, not me. That I don't get to make the rules, they're making the rules. But that's not true, because this is my reality. I make the rules in my reality, right? So I'm asking to earn money while having fun. Yes. I'm asking for new, fun, curious coaching clients who want to experiment together. Eliminate thinking that I am not deserving of my desires. That is such a good one. I'm going to come back to that here in a second. I am asking to release the intergenerational pain of arthritis. Okay. So those two go together really well, because what I see in both of those is like, I'm asking for what I don't want to be removed. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm asking to release the intergenerational pain of arthritis. I want my pain to be removed versus I want ease and pleasure to fill my body. Those are two different asks. And to use the second example, eliminate thinking that I am not deserving of my desires. I want to feel deserving of all of my desires. So flipping it into, what is it that you want? Because like Abraham Hicks says, like, if you say yes to something, you're attracting it to you. If you say no to something, you're attracting it to you. The universe doesn't hear the words. It's just the attention to the subject. So like including arthritis in the request, for example, more attention, more energy, more momentum onto that subject versus ease and pleasurable movement, mobility, being able to do anything that I want to do. Like how do we really phrase our request to the universe in terms of what it is that you want to have? Because anything you're going to shine the light on, that's what it's going to amplify. So how would you rephrase that? Yes, when you put it out there to the universe, be open to how it brings it in, 100%. And that's what's so great about something like, I want to believe that I deserve everything that I desire, because the universe can bring that to you in trillions of different ways. It can put you on this call. It can serve you up a YouTube video. It can be the person in front of you asking for something special at Starbucks that you're like, I always wanted that. I didn't even know that they would do that. But like, here's you witnessing somebody that's asking for it and getting it. Like it can open your mind in a trillion different ways and be willing to act on it, right? Like, again, I think that comes back to like trusting that you have the power to make it however you want, right? Like when it's giving you an idea that feels good, like it would lead to more of what you want, even though you're like, well, how is it going to get me there, right? That's the question that stops us, I think, a lot of times is like, I don't see how this is related to my cat getting to do the surgery at the vet or whatever. Like, this isn't what I asked for. Like taking the next idea and the next idea, that path of least resistance. Right. So don't use a negative when asking, because there is no positive or negative. There's only the attention that we're shining on whatever we're shining it on. And that's what we're going to get coming back to us. So I am removing phone scammers from my life. Like that's another good example of like, that's only drawing in more phone scammers, right? Like we're shining the light on phone scammers. Here's a flip of that. Every phone call I receive is valuable and helpful. Every single time my phone rings, it's someone who I love to connect with. So that is shining the light on more of what you do want, right? I experience only peace every single time my phone rings. So taking them out of the equation altogether. And this is what I'm talking about. We're like, would we start thinking about reclaiming our power and where is it currently? There are so many illusions that it can get caught up in, and phone scammers, like that's an illusion that's holding your power, believing that they have the power instead of you having the power. You have the power to make your phone ring only when you want it to ring. They can't exert, like how Abraham Hicks would say, like they can't exert themselves into your life. We're inviting in whatever it is that's coming to us by our attention to it. So the more we rail against what we don't want, the bigger and bigger and bigger it gets for us. I asked to move with ease and lightness. Absolutely. Yes. We sometimes have to take the action so that the next step or thing is revealed. So for me, is having the courage to act. Yes. 100%. I think, the path of least resistance, the path of it unfolding, it reminds me of the saying of like the road rises up to meet us. Okay. So like when we are willing to like extend our foot and like take a step, the universe will literally put a stone underneath our step for our step to land on. And the more we are willing to take the steps, the more the path is like unfolding right in front of us. But so often we want to see like, show me the whole path and then I'll start walking. And it doesn't really work like that. Like this session right here is such a perfect example of like, this isn't necessarily outlining the whole entire path, but it's giving us the next step of like reframing our desire and like which direction are we even pointing in what it is that we're asking for, right? Like we have complete control over the direction of our focus. We have no control over what is happening outside of us. So reclaiming our power, another element of that is to think about like, what is it? Where is the evidence of us knowing that it's happening? Is it inside of us or is it outside of us? Right? Like the example that I gave of like my credit card interest payment going down, like the feeling inside of me of like total abundance and exhilaration that like I asked and the answer was yes, that feeling is my evidence that like I'm moving in the right direction. The savings of like what I wanted was an interest payment of zero. Like it wasn't, if I had, needed the evidence to be a $0 interest payment, then I failed, quote unquote. But I didn't, because the feeling that was unlocked inside of that is palpable. Of I asked and the answer was yes. I got something because I was willing to go for it. Our focus, our attention is our primary power. 100%. 100%. So what else do we want to ask for? Right? Like, let's milk this as far as like thinking about what else. We can create our reality to be anything that we want it to be. What else comes to mind that you want to be living right now that you could ask for? And again, it might be a specific example of like, there's a person you could call and make a request, or it might be a request to the universe. What else? You have the power to make your life anything that you want. So what else do you want to ask for? The reclaiming our power. I think, this goes along with what we've been talking about of like, which direction are we pointed with our focus of, we tend to be a lot more familiar with what it is that we don't want than what it is that we do want. And that's okay, because the what you don't want story is your entry point to like, if you can flip that around to the positive, that is what you want, right? Like the examples we already did. And so even if the reclaiming of your power, if like it's hard to think about what do I want? What would I ask for? Like I just gave you a magic wand, you can have anything you want. And like if it's stumping you, the go-to place where I would go is like, what's bugging you? What's bugging you? And how do you reframe that? How do you rewrite that request of what it is that would feel better to you? And reclaiming our power. Again, who is holding the power? Is it the thing outside of you, or is it you with your magic wand of your attention and your focus? So much of like everything that we're talking about here is shifting one core belief of either I am enough, I get to have my power, or I am not enough, I don't have my power. And these are all examples of finding those places in ourselves where we don't yet believe that we have the power to change it. And so just like we talked about last week with becoming aware of the heaviness that we're dealing with, as soon as we're aware of it, as soon as we can observe that this thing is not how I want it to be, that's when we get our magic wand out and we change it by defining and declaring what is it that you want it to be. And I say the more audacious, the better, right? The more outlandish, the better. I've been getting the message for years at this point. Dream bigger. I think so often what stops us from manifesting is that we're thinking too small, right? We want this small little thing because that's the crumbs and that would be enough. It's like, well, dude, you're already enough. What would blow your mind? What would really set your heart on fire? Because that's not crumbs, right? Like there's this example of, like you could have a table at a 5-star restaurant and go sit by the window and listen to the beautiful music, or you can go sit in the kitchen on the floor and like catch the crumbs coming off the assembly line of the plates. Like so often we're settling for crumbs in declaring what it is that we want. And so to dream even bigger, to expand what it is that we're willing to ask for, I think if anything, like it speeds up the manifestation because it requires that you take more of your power and put it back inside of yourself. It requires that you believe what it is that you are asking for.